Batman says he likes to work alone, but if that's true, then why does he keep adopting all of these vengeful teens? Batman has had a lot of different sidekicks over the years, but there's one who's definitely the most famous, and he's making his first big screen appearance in years very soon.
This one.
Absolutely not.
Wait, what's that one there? I love it. My only trouble is his pants are just a little tight. I got an idea. Rip! It's better. Now I'm free, now I'm moving. Come on, Batman, let's get grooving!
This is Issue at Hand, Polygon's show about the world of comics. And I'm your host, Susana Polo, and today we're talking about the Robins. Robin was introduced as Batman's partner in 1940's Detective Comics number 38, almost exactly a year after Batman's own debut. Credit for the concept goes to the creators of Batman, Bob Kane and Bill Finger, and one newcomer, Jerry Robinson. Robin accomplished three separate things for the folks behind Batman. It made the dark, pulp action book that Batman was at the time more appealing to young readers, and doubled its sales. It gave him someone to talk to, so he didn't have to thought balloon his monologues all the time, and it was part of a deliberate softening of the content of Batman books, which until that point had been a lot more like noir adventure novels than the burgeoning costumed hero trend. Batman packed pistols and regularly murdered his enemies. Robin's introduction coincided with two of Batman's other most fundamental rules: that he never uses guns and he never kills. Robin is now an indelible part of Batman's stories, no matter how much we'd like to pretend that he's the DC Universe's biggest loner.
I really don't need anyone at any time, ever, because I'm totally awesome, and Batman works alone.
And over the more than 75 years of the character's existence, a succession of characters have worn the mask, each one molding the tenor of the Dark Knight stories along with them. And the first was Dick Grayson. Dick grew up in the circus and performed with his acrobat family as part of the Flying Graysons until his parents were murdered by the Mafia. Billionaire Bruce Wayne attended their final performance and, seeing his own tragedy in Dick, adopted the boy as his ward. Dick's search for justice for his parents' murder caused him to cross paths with the Batman, and long story short, that's how Dick Grayson became Robin and Batman got his first sidekick. Jerry Robinson picked his costume and name after N.C. Wyeth's Robin Hood. And Dick had a wit and optimism that contrasted against his morose, taciturn mentor, and that put a wider variety of tools in the pockets of Batman writers. He would be Robin for 44 years. In 1984, during the heyday of teen superhero team books, DC editorial made the decision to graduate Dick from his short pants. He grew up and became frustrated with working under Batman's shadow, so he quit to take on a new costume and a new name, Nightwing. This was kind of a big deal. Dick was an early example of a character being allowed to age in DC's endless, immortal universe. And with the creation of Nightwing, Robin was no more. Fortunately, another Robin was introduced pretty much immediately: Jason Todd. Jason began his literary existence as the son of circus acrobats who were murdered by Killer Croc. Aside from his red hair, he was a carbon copy of Dick Grayson. But don't worry, he dyed his hair black once he started being Robin, because that's not weird. Fortunately, or unfortunately, Jason was introduced a mere 2 years before the Crisis on Infinite Earths gave DC the opportunity to rewrite him. Post-Crisis Jason was a street orphan Batman came across when he was trying to boost the tires from the Batmobile. Bruce thought that being Robin might give the kid a channel for his anger and keep him from the criminal life. This Jason was the opposite of Dick Grayson. He was cynical, reckless, and insubordinate, and more than that, he was not popular among fans. In 1988, DC Comics famously decided to experiment with the idea of a fan-generated plotline by holding a phone poll to see if Jason Todd would live or die. In the cliffhanger ending of Batman number 427, the Joker beats Jason with a crowbar, ties him up in an exploding warehouse, and leaves him for dead. Writer Denny O'Neil and artist Jim Aparo made two different versions of the following issue, one for each option on the poll. In the end, with more than 10,000 votes cast, Jason died by a margin of 72 votes. In 2005, Jason was brought back from the dead as an effect of the Infinite Crisis storyline. He was pissed that Batman had never avenged him by killing the Joker and took on the identity of the Red Hood, a gun-wielding vigilante and mercenary, which he still holds today. But until then, Jason's death was famously permanent, with his empty costume hanging in the cave for years, as a reminder of the time Batman made a bad call and it cost a kid his life. From 1988 into 2005, when Batman said, "I work alone," you knew why. But, of course, he still wasn't working alone. He had Tim Drake. Only a year after Jason's death, Tim was introduced as the new Robin. Tim's origin was a significant departure from previous Robins. For one thing, both of his parents were alive. After witnessing the death of the Flying Graysons on a family trip to the circus and then seeing police footage of Batman and Robin working together, Tim Drake put two and two together. Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne were Robin and Batman. But Tim kept the fact that he knew their secret identities to himself until he watched Batman losing himself in guilt after the death of Jason Todd. Tim tried to get Bruce and Dick to patch it up so that Dick could be Robin again, but he wound up having to steal Jason's costume from the cave and rescue the dynamic duo himself. Against his better judgment, Bruce took Tim on as Robin, and the character finally got a costume with long pants. Tim was a great concept. A kid who grew up loving Batman and Robin so much that he got to be Robin, the dream of every Batman fan. Also, independently figuring out Batman's secret identity puts him on a very short list of characters in the DCU, alongside people like Ra's al Ghul, Bane, and the Riddler. Tim's dedication to Batman's ideals and his brain made him the de facto candidate to succeed Bruce as Batman for a long time. That is, until he had to become Red Robin because the Robin costume was taken away from him in order to give it to Damian Wayne. Created by Grant Morrison in 2006, Damian is the secret son of Bruce Wayne and Talia Head, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. Damian was trained from birth by Ra's League of Assassins as the heir of the demon, and Talia didn't reveal his existence to Bruce until the kid was 10. In Damian's first visit to Gotham, he tries to prove himself to his famous father by attempting to kill Tim Drake, punching out Alfred, and murdering a minor supervillain. But Damian couldn't really get to know Bruce before Batman died in the Final Crisis storyline. After Bruce's death, Dick Grayson took it upon himself to be Batman and chose Damian, Bruce's only living blood relative, as his Robin. He didn't even ask Tim about it first, but I'm not mad. Later on, Bruce came back from the dead, only for Damian to die a few years later, and then Damian came back from the dead, but his character has always been defined by feeling unworthy of his father's legacy, which he hides underneath a thick layer of being a superior, spoiled, violent, secretive ass. I love all the Robins equally. I don't care for Damian. Let's rewind the clock a few years to cover our final Robin. What? I mean, you didn't think I was going to forget about her. Okay, I know you're all waiting for me to talk about Carrie Kelly from The Dark Knight Returns, but that's not a canonical story, and this video is long enough. Stephanie Brown. The only female character to ever be Robin in the main DC continuity. But the story of how that happened is an ugly one. Stephanie began her vigilante career by foiling her supervillain father's schemes as the Spoiler. And although she fought crime alongside Tim Drake for a long time, Batman never approved of her relative inexperience. During a period where Tim had quit being Robin, Stephanie demanded that Batman allow her to train as his replacement, and he agreed. It should have been cool, the first female Robin. But Stephanie would only have the title for a few short issues in 2004 until she disobeyed Batman in the field and he fired her. Why? Well, DC Editorial had decided that in the next big Batman event, Stephanie Brown would accidentally instigate a massive gang war in Gotham, and then she would be tortured to death by Black Mask. But they thought, as a relatively minor character, her death wouldn't have enough meaning on its own, so she was made the first female Robin explicitly to raise her profile before she was violently murdered. Stephanie didn't get a memorial in the cave, and she didn't become an example of Batman failing his young charges. To this day, she is still the only girl to have ever been Robin in the main DCU, although even that was retconned away in the New 52 along with her later post-resurrection stint as Batgirl. Unusually, the only other change to the history of the Robins in the New 52 reboot was the origin of Tim Drake, which was pretty much completely scrambled into a genius kid whose attempt to get Batman's attention put his parents in the witness protection program. In the New 52, Tim went straight to his Red Robin identity without ever being Robin. Somehow, in our modern media landscape, we've got this idea of Batman sulking alone in his mansion with his personal servant, despite the fact that Batman has virtually never existed without a Robin. Robin didn't just give Batman someone to talk to, he created the foundation for an entire Bat family, transforming Batman into a mentor, a tactical leader, a father.
Just say it, Susana.
I'm really excited about the Lego Batman movie. Got questions you'd like Issue at Hand to cover, like what's the best way to buy comics, or what's the deal with Iron Fist, or why do DC and Marvel have a character who's called Captain Marvel? Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested in finding out what you want to find out about. I might answer a bunch of your questions in an upcoming show, or maybe even do a whole episode about one. Until then, this has been Issue at Hand. Crime alongside Tim Drake for a long time, Batman never approved of her relative experience. No, relative inexperience. The other thing you want to find out about. Sorry, burrito burp. Okay.
Classy.
That's going in the stinger, isn't it, Clayton?
Yes, absolutely.